Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first We Are Worthy Summit yoga class. I'm Sarah Chamberlin. I write the blog Infertility Honesty, and I'm also a certified yoga teacher, so I'm going to be leading us through today's class. I am so glad to finally be practicing alongside my fellow childless and child-free not by choice community, as well as with anyone else who may be joining us, so welcome everybody. Today's class is a basic yoga class. We're going to be practicing alignment-based yoga today. So for those of you who are not familiar with alignment-based yoga, there are a couple of things to know. First thing is that alignment-based yoga does contain many verbal alignment cues. These serve the purpose of, excuse me, keeping us safe in poses, and then they also have the additional benefit of potentially bringing us deeper into our bodies and of helping us to forge more of a connection with our bodies. The other thing to know about alignment-based yoga is that we do spend a little bit more time in poses than you would in perhaps other kinds of yoga. So in today's session, we're really not going to be doing much, if any, rapid movement from pose to pose to pose. So I will be providing you with modifications and alternatives whenever possible. However, the main thing is to always listen to your bodies and to feel absolutely free to refrain from doing something or continuing to do something that doesn't feel right for you. So with all that said, we do still have a bit more talking to get through, and then we're going to gently ease our way into doing some asana, some yoga poses. So first order of business is to go through the items that you will need for today. Now the first thing that you'll need is a basic sticky rubber yoga mat. If you're not in possession of a mat, make sure that the surface you're practicing on is not at all slippery and that it contains a place where you can reasonably and comfortably lie down on your back. The second thing you want to have at your disposal are folded blankets. If you don't have official yoga blankets, that's totally fine. You want to seek blankets, though, that are rough in texture. Slippery, slidey type blankets are not going to be of service to you. So have 2 or 3 folded blankets on hand. And now the final item. Third and final thing that you will need are 2 yoga blocks. We're going to primarily be using these to place our fingertips on when our fingertips can't reach the floor in any given pose, and you can adjust the height of these depending on what you need in any given pose that you're in. So if you don't happen to have a couple of yoga blocks just hanging out in your back pocket, the temporary alternative that I'm suggesting are shoe boxes. So you want to select shoe boxes that are somewhat similar in height and size. And the main thing is you want to use very, very sturdy shoe boxes, being mindful when you're using them not to place too much of your weight down into them. And as for adjusting their height to whatever you may need in any given pose, I'm going to defer to your judgment on that depending on the kinds of shoe boxes you end up with. So you feel free to pause the video, gather up what you need, and when you come back, we will be working on taking a comfortable seat. So one of the definitions that I came across for worthiness is having the quality of deserving attention or respect. And so the seat that we take in yoga, I think, is deserving of both of those things, worthy of both of those things. So you can sit cross-legged in a couple of different ways. The first way is the way that I'm currently sitting now. My feet are in a sort of pointed position, and I have one foot or one lower leg placed in front of the other. Now, when you're sitting cross-legged, you want to have your knees at or below the level of your hips. So I'm sitting up on the edge of one blanket in order to get this to happen for me. Occasionally, that rare person maybe doesn't need a blanket. Some people need 2 or 3. It's really whatever you need to get your knees at or below the level of your hips. You may also want to opt for a more traditional cross-legged position like this, where you're placing your feet under opposite legs. However, the same principle of propping yourself still applies. So if I were to assume this position, you can see that my knees are right now above the level of my hips, so I would want to put myself up on one or perhaps maybe even two more blankets. Now, sitting cross-legged just isn't your thing. You do have the option of coming back to sit on your heels like this, and you can place one or two blankets between your thighs and calves if this makes this position more feasible for you, especially if it makes it more reasonable for your knees. So we're not really trying to shatter any records with this sitting thing. What we're really aiming to do is to get ourselves into the best aligned, most comfortable and reasonable position possible. This can take a bit of trial and error, sometimes a little experimentation. So as you're finding your seat for the day, today's class theme is worthiness. Surprise, surprise. In all seriousness, it's really no wonder that worthiness is such an important issue of consideration, both in the infertility and in the childless, child-free, not by choice communities. We deal with things on a daily basis that can understandably knock our sense of self-worth into a state of upheaval. Not having our experiences all that much included or valued as of yet in the human conversation is one of many things. So as a result, we need to go extraordinarily deep within ourselves to reclaim, rebuild, nurture, cultivate, create our sense of self-worth. So while a healthy sense of self-worth is undeniably hard-won for so many of us, having it is entirely possible. And a yoga practice is one of a number of things that can potentially help to facilitate it. One thing I wanted to share before we start that I learned from my own personal experience, and that is that because yoga can be such an opening and inquisitive practice, a little bit of that sometimes can actually go a very long way, both in the face of raw grief and traumatic experiences. So with whatever portion of the session you're doing or not doing today, I invite you to do it with the intention of meeting yourself where you're at and knowing that no matter how tough of a task that may be sometimes, that place where you are is worthy, no matter where it is right now today. So keeping in the spirit with Brené Brown's renowned quote, "There are no prerequisites for worthiness," we're going to be playing with the concept and the experience of worthiness today, using our bodies as vehicles with which to do so. So as you are getting more settled into your seat, you can close your eyes. If you're sitting cross-legged, you'll find your palms flat on or just above your knees. And if you're sitting back on your heels, you can lightly intertwine your fingers, turn your palms up, and lay them in your lap. Turning your attention to your natural breath. That natural breath that is always present, both when we're not watching it. Allowing yourself to observe your breath without manipulating it. And now noticing your breath moving throughout your entire body. So from that same vantage point of observation, momentarily check in with yourself, making a note of the space that you're currently in. You may be in an uncomfortable space, maybe a joyful place, somewhere that's angst-riddled, perhaps maybe you're in a neutral place. Knowing that neither is better, and that wherever you may find yourself, it is all worthy. Bringing your hands together at heart center. We'll chant one round of Om, honoring our voices, both individual and collective. Release your hands and slowly crack your eyes open. Bring your arms straight out in front of you. Clasp your hands and now turn your palms outward. On an inhale, raise your arms as straight up overhead as you reasonably can, lengthening your spine. On your exhale, let your sit bones release down onto your blanket. One more inhale, creating space in your mid-body. Exhaling, float your arms back down. All right, moving your blanket off to the side, we're going to come to sit back on our heels, coming into a deep-seated forward fold. You can actually have one or two blankets between your thighs and your calves in this position if that makes it more workable for you. Have your knees touching. I'm sorry, that's your big toes touching. You want to have your knees separated a little bit. And now stretching forward. Your fingertips are on the mat. You can release your forehead down on the mat or perhaps onto a block. And now give your shoulders a nice lift up and away from the mat, bringing your shoulder blades together on your back. And you're breathing fully here, really moving your breath throughout your entire body. On an inhale, walk your hands over to the right. Exhaling, anchoring your left hip down, getting a nice stretch through your side body. And now walking your hands back to center. On an inhale, walk your hands over to the left. Exhale, tapping your right hip down, getting a nice stretch through this side. And walking your hands back to center. Inhale, shift your weight forward onto your hands. Your palms are flat. Exhale, shifting your weight back onto your heels. Inhaling, then shift your weight forward onto your hands. Start your exhale, and now initiate your weight back onto your heels. Continuing like this on your own breath. What we're doing here is a vinyasa, which means we're purposefully synchronizing our breath with our movement, hopefully benefiting from the integration of these two important things. All right, finishing up. And we're going to resume our original seated position, whether it was cross-legged or sitting back on your heels. So taking your blanket or blankets, we're going to be coming into a simple seated twist. The first thing that you want to do once you're in your seated position, and I'm going to just show you from this side, is you want to draw your lower back in and up. All right, we want to be moving in the opposite direction of a rounded back. This reverses your spinal curvature and it weakens your back muscles. So drawing your lower back in and up to the degree that you can. And now on an inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, twisting over to the right. So your left hand is touching your right leg and your right fingertips are down on the floor behind you, drawing your right shoulder back a few inches if you can. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, twist. Remaining sparing with the depth of your twist as we're still warming up. Inhale, lengthening taller. Exhale, perhaps twisting a little further or maybe staying where you are. One more inhale. Exhaling, unwind. Coming back to center, breathing fully. Noticing any space or expansion you might have created in your lungs and in your mid-body. Moving to the other side. Draw your lower back in and up. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, twisting over to the left. So your right hand is placed on your left leg. Your left fingertips are down on the floor behind you, drawing your left shoulder back a few inches if you're able. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, twist. Still staying conservative with the depth of your twist. And now one more inhale. Exhaling, maybe staying where you are, twisting just a little deeper. One last inhale. Exhale, unwind. Coming to center. Breathing fully. Once again, experiencing maybe any space or expansion you've created. Space or expansion of which we are unquestionably worthy. Move your blanket off to the side. We are going to come into table pose, but first, if you happen to be wearing socks, this would be a good time to take them off. And you also want to set up your props, whether it's your shoe boxes or your blocks. Have them set up at the front of your workspace as we are going to be getting to them in just a little bit. So coming into table pose, you are on your hands and knees. Knees are set up hip distance apart. Hands are set up shoulder distance apart. You want to have your toes curled under. Your hips are set up directly over your knees, and your arms make straight lines from your shoulders all the way down to your wrists. From here, we want to start swishing, slowly swishing our pelvis from side to side. Accompanying this movement with our breath. We're loosening up our lower back and our hips just a bit here. And now coming back to center. We're setting up for downward facing dog. So we're going to place our hands precisely. This will give us the strong foundation that we need in this pose. You can start by having your wrist creases parallel with the front edge of your mat. Root down evenly through all four corners of your palms. Spread your fingers evenly. And now claw your practice surface with your finger pads so your hands are very strong and active here. On your next exhale, release your heart down. You'll feel your shoulder blades coming together on your back. And now on an inhale, lift your knees, lift your hips, pushing back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So if this is not feasible for you, you can come back into a deep-seated forward fold, getting a lot of nice length in your spine in this position. All right, back in downward facing dog. You're seeing how you feel here and what is likely your first downward facing dog of the day. You can pedal out your heels, knowing that they do not need to reach the floor. Perhaps shifting your hips from side to side. And maybe maintaining a bend in your knees, especially if that helps you with a long, straight spine here. Inhale, and on your exhale, walk your feet forward. We're coming into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. So you can place your fingertips on your mat or up on your props. Have your hands placed about twice as wide as your feet. All right, so we're on our fingertips because that increases our sensitivity towards the strength in our arms, and it also prevents us from collapsing down into our wrists. And you can maintain a slight bend in your knees here if you need to as well. Your feet are parallel and hip distance apart. Lift and spread your toes, engaging your leg muscles, and release your head. Now from here, pivot your elbows away from you towards the front of your mat, bringing your shoulder blades together on your back. And take 2 more rounds of breath here. And we have 2 options for coming up. You can either have a slight bend in your knees, inhale, bring your hands to your hips, hinging up with a flat back, or If you want to protect your back a little bit, your other option is to have a slight bend in your knees. Inhale, bring your hands above your knees and walk yourself up. So for the rest of the session, you can use whichever method of coming up works best for you. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up overhead. Exhale, arms come down by your sides. So we find ourselves in Tadasana, mountain pose. We really want to be feeling through the bottoms of our feet here, because not only are we worthy of having our own ground, we are worthy of being connected to our ground. So the bottoms of the feet have 4 main weight-bearing points. I'm just going to sit down for a moment so I can show you. Those points are the inner ball mound, which is just below the big toe, outer ball mound below the little toe, outer heel, and inner heel. So we're going to feel our way through those points right now. All right, so first lift and spread your toes, then you can bring them down, and now we're going to shift our weight forward, having more of our weight both on our inner and outer ball mounds, shifting your weight back onto your inner and outer heels. One more time forward, and one more time to the back. And now we're going to go from side to side a couple of times. So first shifting your weight onto your outer feet, that's your outer ball mound, your outer heels. And now shifting it a little more onto your inner ball mound and inner heels. One more time out. And now one more time in. Perhaps getting an idea along the way of where you distribute, or where you tend to distribute more and less of your weight. Lift and spread your toes. Feel how that really accentuates the 4 corners of your feet and actively roots them down into the mat. Draw your kneecaps up, bringing energy into the core of your pelvis. Bring your arms straight out in front of you. Clasp your hands. Turn your palms out. And now on an inhale, bring your arms as straight up overhead as you reasonably can, growing your spine taller. Exhale, maintaining your sense of rootedness in your feet. Inhale, creating space in your mid-body. Exhale, knowing that you are worthy of that space. Inhaling, knowing that you're also worthy of taking up space. And on your exhale, float your arms back down by your sides, palms are facing out. Draw your shoulders back, drawing your head back. You can have your eyes closed or open here, whatever feels right for you. Staying with your breath as we pause. Okay, coming back. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up overhead. Exhale, fold forward with the flat back. You can have your fingertips on the mat or up on your props. Inhale, bend your knees, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, step your right leg back. We're coming into a lunge preparation here. So with your fingertips on the mat or on your props, you can arrange your wrists underneath your shoulders. Your back leg is straight, strong, and lifted. Your back toes are curled under, and your front leg is bent. So from here, root down evenly through all 4 corners of your left foot as you engage both of your feet in towards one another with the scissor-like action, feeling the lift this brings to your pelvis. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, back of your head lifts up towards the ceiling. And take one more round of breath here. At the end of your exhale, you can bring your back knee down, and you can put a blanket under your knee if you need to do so here. And now shimmy your knee back just a few inches further behind you. Continuing to arrange your wrists underneath your shoulders, we're going to be coming into a hamstring stretch here. So for those of you who don't know, your hamstring is the muscle behind your upper leg, between your knee and your buttocks. Slowly shifting your hips back as you begin to straighten your front leg. Now, for some of you, just initiating your leg to become straight is going to give you a great hamstring stretch, so that's fine. Others may be able to straighten part way, perhaps all the way. Wherever your leg may land, come up onto the heel of your front foot and you can slide that a little bit forward if you need to. Now, flex and spread your toes, and then see if you can allow your outer left hip to drop down and under. Mine really likes to wing up, so that's something that I need to concentrate on. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, if you can, with the flat back, bend just a little deeper. And coming out, slide your front heel in towards you until you're flat on your foot. Inhale, step your back leg forward. Exhale, left leg steps back. So we're coming into the lunge preparation on this side. All right, so you can continue to have your fingertips on the mat or up on your props, arranging your wrists underneath your shoulders. Your back leg is straight, strong, and lifted. Back toes are curled under, and your front leg is bent. From here, root your right foot, the four corners of your right foot down as you engage your feet in towards one another with a scissor-like action. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, drawing the back of your head up. And take one more round of breath. And at the end of your exhale, bring your back knee down. Have a blanket underneath your knee if you need to. And then you can shimmy that knee just a few inches further behind you. Right, coming into the hamstring stretch on this side. As you continue to arrange your wrists underneath your shoulders, start to shift your hips back as you slowly begin to straighten your front leg. Right, knowing that the degree to which your front leg does or doesn't straighten, it may be the same or it may be different than it was on the other side. Coming up onto your front heel, you can slide that front heel forward just a little bit if you need to. Flex and spread your toes. And now see if you can get your right hip to agree to drop down and under just a bit. Inhale, lengthening your spine forward. Exhale, with the flat back, folding a little deeper if you can. Coming out. Slide your heel in towards you until your foot is flat. Inhale, back leg steps forward. Exhale and fold. You have a slight bend in your knees. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips or above your knees to come up. Sweep your arms out up overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. So we're going to do a few Surya Namaskars, a few sun salutations, 2 halves and 1 full. So rearrange your props if you need to towards the front of your workspace because these involve forward bending. All right, so standing just behind your props, your feet are parallel and hip distance apart. First time through, I'm going to instruct any potential modifications. And then as we continue to go through, you can use your modifications of choice. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up overhead, gazing up. Exhale, fold forward with a flat back. Fingertips can touch the mat, your props, and you can have a bend in your knees here as well. Inhaling, bend your knees, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, pushing down through your feet, straightening your legs to the degree that you can, and releasing your head. Lightly bend your knees. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips or above your knees to come up. Sweep your arms out and up overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, bring your arms out and up, gazing up. Exhale, fold forward with flat back, fingertips touch. Inhale, bend your knees, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, pushing down through your feet to fold. Lightly bend your knees. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips or above your knees to come up. Bring your arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, floating your arms out and up. Exhaling, hinging forward with a flat back, fingertips touch. Inhale, bend your knees, looking forward with your heart. Exhale, you can step your hands off of your props, come onto your knees, and then make your way down onto your abdomens. We're setting up for full prostration here. Stack your hands, rest your forehead, and breathe. Lift your right leg up a few inches up off the floor, lengthen it, and then place it down behind you. And now lifting your left leg up a couple inches off the floor, growing it longer, and then bringing it down. You root your tailbone by wrapping your outer hips back and then feeling your lower belly tone. And now bring your arms straight out in front of you. So the outer pinky edges of your arms are on the floor and your thumbs are facing up. Keeping your pelvis rooted, inhale, sliding your pinkies towards you to lift your chest up off the mat. Staying with your breath. And on your next exhale, coming down, stack your hands, rest your head. All right, so preparing for one more round. Root your tailbone by wrapping your outer hips. And now this time you can do the same thing once again. You can bring your arms straight out in front of you, outer edges of your pinkies down on the floor. Your other option is to release your head, clasp your hands behind you, and now place them on your sacrum, which is just below your waist. Lifting your shoulders, keeping your pelvis rooted. Inhale, lift your head, lift your chest, straighten your arms. Inviting your breath in here, and perhaps your legs come up off the mat. Shalabhasana, locust pose. Next exhale, coming down, stack your hands, and breathe fully. So the two poses that we just did have the benefit of building a strong spine and of building a flexible spine. All right, bringing your palms flat on either side of your heart, pushing yourself back up onto your knees. And now on an inhale, lift your knees, lift your hips, coming back into downward facing dog. We'll stay here for 2 rounds of breath. Inhale. Exhale. 1. Inhaling. And exhaling. 2. At the end of your exhale, walk your feet forward towards your hands. Slightly bend your knees. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips or above your knees to come up. Sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. All right, good job, everybody. We're going to be coming into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. So I'm going to turn my mat off to the side, or over to the side, I should say, and I invite you to do the same. Okay. There. Maybe there? All right. Little OCD never hurt anybody. Okay. Stand in the front of, in the center of your mat, and now take a wide leg stance. Bring your arms out to the sides momentarily and place your ankles underneath your wrists more or less in order to gauge the width of your stance. So if you feel that the surface you're on is not supporting your stance, take a narrower stance by bringing your legs in a bit closer towards one another. Left foot turns in slightly, right leg turns out all the way. Look down and see that your front heel is intersecting with your back arch. And now on an inhale, bring your arms straight out to the side, exhaling, Right knee bends into a 90-degree angle. You want to check and see that your knee is tracking over your second and third toes. We want to avoid the knee pivoting to the right or to the left. And now lift and spread your toes, engaging your leg muscles. Continuing to breathe here, you're forming a straight line from your front arm through your chest, out through your back arm. Fingers are lively, gaze is out over your right hand. Inhaling, push down through your right foot to straighten your leg. Exhale, feet are parallel. And we're moving to the other side. So turn your right foot in just a bit. Left leg turns out all the way. Look down and see that your front heel is intersecting with your back arch. Inhale, bring your arms straight out to the side. Exhale, bending your left knee into a 90-degree angle. So check and see that your knee is tracking over your second and third toes on this side. And now because we are worthy of a well-aligned foundation, we're worthy of a strong foundation, lift and spread your toes, firing up the strength in your legs. And as you stay with your breath here, you're forming a straight line from your front arm through your heart, out through your back arm. Fingers are lively. Gaze is out over your left hand. Inhale, pressing down through your foot to straighten your leg. Exhale, feet are parallel, and step together. All right, so we're coming into tree pose. It's a balance pose, otherwise known as Vrikshasana in Sanskrit. So because we are, of course, so deserving and worthy of support, I'm going to suggest that you enlist the support of a wall for this pose. All right, so bringing your back to any empty wall space, any blank wall space you might have available. I'm lining my back up on the wall. My heels are a few inches out away from the wall, just to give you an idea of how I'm arranging myself. So you're standing with your feet together. Lift and spread your toes now, rooting the bottoms of your feet down. Hug your leg muscles into the bones on all sides, solidifying the strength in your legs. And now coming up onto the ball mound of your left foot, from your left hip joint, turn your leg out, placing your toes on or just underneath your right ankle. And at this point, if you're not already, you can lean back on the wall. So this is the starting point for this pose. If staying here is right for you, then this is a great thing to do. You also have the option of either bringing your foot to the inside of your lower leg, or perhaps, if it works for you, up onto your inner thigh. Just making sure to avoid the knee along the way. We don't want to be pressing our feet into our knees here. Inhale, growing your spine taller. Exhale, rooting down through your standing leg. And now bring your hands to your heart. Perhaps straight up overhead. And maybe experiment with coming away from the wall just a bit. Inhale, exhale, arms come down, foot comes down, breathe, and settle. All right, going to the other side. Rearrange yourself against the wall. Feet are together. And now lift and spread your toes, feeling the bottoms of your feet root down. Hug your leg muscles now into your bones on all sides, solidifying the strength in your legs. Bringing your hands to your hips. Rearrange myself a little here. Come onto the ball mound of your right foot. And now from your right hip joint, turn your leg out. You're placing your toes just underneath your left ankle. Right, now you can bring yourself back on the wall if you're not already there. So this is, once again, a starting point for this pose. If this is where you get the best balance, then this is a great place for you to be. You can also bring your foot up onto the inside of your lower leg or up to your inner thigh. Just making sure to avoid the knee along the way. Inhale, growing your spine taller. Exhale, rooting down through your standing leg. Bringing your hands to your heart. Perhaps straight up overhead. Maybe playing around with coming away from the wall just a bit. Inhale, exhale, arms come down, your foot comes down. Breathe and pause. All right, so please turn your mats back around the long way. I'm not going to do that, but you can go ahead and do that. And then we're just going to do a little prop arranging before we continue. All right, so after you've rearranged your mats, you can have your blocks or boxes set up and ready to go at the front of your workspace. And we're going to do just a little bit of blanket folding now too. So you can take 1 or 2 blankets. We're going to make a makeshift sort of bolster. So with a blanket this size, I am folding my blanket into 3s. All right, and this may eventually go underneath your knees so that you know what we're using it for. And once again, you can do this with 1 or 2 blankets. And then we'll place that off to the side. Getting to it in a little bit. Okay. All right, standing just behind your props, feet are together, bringing your hands to your hips. Inhale, exhale, bend your knees, shifting your hips back as though you're gonna come and sit down. Take your first 2 fingers, place them on your groins, and now you want to draw your inner thighs back, feeling your groins hollow. Keeping your knees together as well. You want to now balance your inner thigh action by drawing your outer hips. You're wrapping your outer hips back, rooting your tailbone. You're really going to feel your butt muscles engaged here. Inhale, bring your arms straight up overhead. Exhale, sitting deeper into Utkatasana, chair pose. Next inhale, pushing down through your feet to come up. Exhale, folding forward, fingertips touch. Inhale, bend your knees, lengthen your spine forward. Exhale, now step your hands off of your props, and you are coming back to sit on your heels in a deep-seated forward fold. Your side body is long. Head is released. Your pelvis is heavy. Enjoy your breath. All right, coming to sit back up on your heels. Take one of your blocks or boxes, placing it off to the side of your mat. We're going to be calling on that in just a bit. You can toss your other block or box out of the way. And now bringing our feet out from underneath us, swiveling them around to the right, coming to lie down on your mats with knees bent for ankle to knee pose. All right, so your legs are bent, knees are pointing up towards the ceiling, your feet are parallel and hip distance apart, and you want to have your heels about 6 inches from your hips. Inhale, cross your right ankle over your left knee. Exhale, if your body allows, gently bring your left knee in towards your chest, clasping your hands in front of your left shin or behind your left thigh. All right, so have both feet flexed, both sets of toes are active and engaged. And now feeling into our lower backs here. If your lower back is completely flat on the mat, just as mine is right now, you want to tip your pelvis forward slightly. All right, we're recreating that natural curve that's in our lower backs, feeling as though there's some space between our lower back and the floor. And remaining mindful of your breath here, getting what is hopefully a nice stretch through your right hip. Next exhale, unclasp your hands, Left foot comes down, right ankle uncrosses. Inhale, cross your left ankle over your right knee. Exhaling, if your body allows, gently bring your right knee in towards your chest. You're clasping your hands over your right shin or behind your right thigh. Flex both of your feet. Both sets of your toes are active and engaged. And now checking in with your lower back here. If you're feeling your lower back totally flat on the mat, tip your pelvis forward just a bit. Honoring that natural curve that's in our lower backs. And staying mindful of your breath as you get a hip stretch on this side as well. Next exhale, unclasp your hands, right foot comes down, left ankle uncrosses, and now you can slowly come to straighten your legs, seeing how this feels for you. All right, and for those of you who are fine in this position, I'm going to ask that you lie here for a couple of moments. For those of you who are not fine in this position, please raise your right arms overhead, roll to the right, bring your left hand down into the floor. All right, coming to sit and get a hold of those blanket, those bolsters that we created just a moment ago. All right, so you can make use of one or two of these. They're going to go underneath your knees. And so when you lie back down, it's going to look like this. All right, so once we're all settled on our backs, everybody can flex their feet, spread their toes, and now draw the pinky toe sides of your feet up towards you. Check in and see that you have a slight curve in your lower back. And now bring your hands to your lower ribs. If you notice your ribs are kind of poking up, as I know mine are prone to do, or even if they're not poking up that much, you want to draw your lower ribs down and in by engaging your upper abdominal muscles. All right, you're effectively rooting your lower ribs down onto the floor. Bringing your arms straight up overhead for a full body stretch. And now inhale, hugging your right knee in towards your chest. Exhale, arms and leg come back. Inhaling, hugging your left knee in towards your chest. Arms and leg come back. All right, checking in with the rooting of your ribs as you inhale and hug your right knee in towards your chest. Exhaling, drawing your upper abdominal muscles in on your inhale as you bring your left knee in towards your chest and keeping your ribs rooted as your leg and your arms come back. Finishing up 2 more rounds like this on your own. Staying with your breath and maintaining an awareness at all points of the rootedness, the rooting down of your ribs. All right, finishing up. And we're going to continue with a bit more abdominal work. So take the block or the box that you have placed near your side. Hold it up over your chest with flat hands. So your hands are flat and actively pressing into your prop. Re-engage your feet. Reroot your lower ribs. And now we're going to have our shoulders on the floor. So especially if your shoulders are up off of the mat like this, allow them to slide back down, making contact with the floor. And now keeping your shoulders in contact with the floor, slowly raise your block up over your head. Inhale, rooting your lower ribs down as you bring the block up over your chest. Exhale, keeping your shoulders tacked down as you slowly bring your block up overhead. Inhale, block comes up over your chest. Exhaling, block or your box, slowly raising up over your head. All right, doing 2 more rounds like this on your own breath. maintaining awareness of the rooting of your ribs, of drawing your lower ribs down, and maintaining awareness of your shoulders on the floor. All right, finishing up. Put your prop off to the side. Bring your hands to your lower ribs. Release your feet. Releasing your legs. Let your shoulders release. And now breathe fully. You're witnessing your own pulsation. Bearing witness to your very own worthy expansion and contraction. Place your right arm straight overhead. Roll to the right. And you can kick your bolster out of the way. All right, and now roll directly onto your abdomens. We are coming into a back bend called Sphinx pose. So on your stomachs, you can stack your hands, rest your forehead, and now root the tops of your feet down into the mat. Root your tailbone by wrapping your outer hips, and you're coming up on your elbows. So you want to have your elbows placed directly under your shoulders. Your forearms are parallel with one another, and your palms are flat. Drawing your shoulders back, Sphinx pose. If this is too intensive a back bend for you, you do have some options. So you can place your feet wider. This gives you all the benefits of the pose, but it makes the back bend less intense. And you can also place a folded blanket directly underneath your pelvis, like so, and stay in Sphinx this way. All right, so a couple of options. If here you can remain in Sphinx. You can stack your hands and rest your forehead at any point that you need to. And for those who would like to take the option of a quad stretch, we're going to do that now. So you can do that either with the blanket underneath your pelvis or not. So for those taking a quad stretch, make your legs parallel, reroot your pelvis, and now you want to make your left forearm parallel with the front edge of your mat. Inhale, bend your right knee, right arm comes straight behind you to hold the top of your right leg. Exhaling, right side body is long, your right shoulder is lifted. Next exhale, with control, release your hand from your foot, bringing your right arm around now to be parallel with the front edge of your mat, moving to the other side. Remember, you still do have the options of coming into Sphinx whenever you need to, or resting your head on stacked hands. Rooting your pelvis. Inhale, bend your left knee, left arm comes straight behind you to hold the top of your left foot. Exhaling, left side body is long, your left shoulder is lifted. Ardha Bakasana, half frog pose. And on your next exhale, release with control your foot from your hand. Bring your hands back around, stack them, rest your forehead. Breathing fully into your back body. Feeling how your breath expands your back body, even down as low as your lower back and in your pelvis. Noticing that expansion. Place your palms flat on either side of your heart. Slowly push yourself back up onto your knees and carefully make your way back onto your heels for one final deep-seated forward fold. You're coming to sit up on your heels. You can have your bolster blanket nearby and also have a blanket that's folded in fours nearby that you can sit up on. So bringing our feet out from underneath us, we're coming to sit with our legs straight and together in front of us. Palms are flat on either side of your hips. All right, so if this is not a feasible seated position for you, or if you feel your upper body kind of pitching back, you want to sit up on the edge of at least one blanket in order to aid in the straightening of your spine, like so. And if from here you're still feeling tight in the backs of your legs, you can put a bolster underneath your knees as well. Flexing both of your feet, spreading both sets of your toes, and drawing the pinky toe sides of your feet up towards you. Now root the backs of your knees down into your mat or your blanket bolster, feeling how that further engages your lower back in and up. Inhale, growing your ribs taller on all sides. Exhale, sliding your shoulders back. Staying with your breath here in Dandasana, staff pose. All right, we'll be coming into butterfly pose from Dandasana. So you can stay where you are. I'm just shifting position here. So from Dandasana, drag your right heel in towards you, coming onto the pinky toe side of your foot, and your bent knee is out to the side. And now you want to do the same thing with the other leg. You can arrange your feet further away from you so you get less intense of a stretch if that's what you need to do. And now to get us sitting directly on our sit bones, shift your weight over to one side, manually move your flesh out from underneath you. And now shifting your weight onto the other side, do the same. Manually move your flesh out from underneath you on that side. So we're going to be rounding forward. Unless you have perhaps some lower back issues, sciatica, maybe some disc issues. If that's the case, I'm going to have you stay sitting up straight, or you can come forward, just making sure you do it with a flat back, making sure that you avoid rounding, and you can place your hands on the floor, or if you need to prop them up on the boxes or the blocks to maintain a flat back, that is what you can do. So for those of you for whom it's feasible to round, grab any prop that's available to you at this point. You can lay it over the tops of your feet, rounding forward, placing your forearms on the blanket if you have a blanket, resting your head on stacked hands. You can also rest your head on stacked fists. And if you have a block or a box, you may want to bring your arms out to the side and rest your forehead down on your prop. Honing into your natural breath. And knowing that not only are you worthy of growth and creating space and expansion, you're also worthy of reflection, introspection. You're worthy of experiencing your own internal landscape. All right. If you're rounded over, you can come back up. And we're going to be making our way into Shavasana. So Shavasana is a resting pose done lying flat on your back. So first thing for Shavasana, you want to have the lights in your practice space either dimmed or perhaps turned all the way off, whichever you may prefer. And then as far as propping yourself up in Shavasana, you can feel free to have a folded blanket underneath your head. And you can also have a bolster blanket underneath your knees. And in Shavasana, some people like to have a blanket over their pelvis, taking advantage of the extra weighted feeling there. All right, so getting yourself set up. And then lying down in Shavasana, you want to have your feet set up a little bit wider than hip distance apart, releasing them out to the side. Your arms are by your sides, not too close and not too also far away from your body. Your palms are turned up. So starting to feel yourself heavy. Beginning with your heels, bringing your awareness up your legs, into your pelvis. Feeling your pelvis heavy, your legs are heavy. Taking your awareness up into your upper body now, release your arms. Releasing your shoulders. Your ribs feel weighted. And your skull is heavy. So you're finding yourself releasing with awareness. You're relaxing with attention. Allowing yourself and your innate worthiness to be held and supported by the ground and the floor beneath you. So we'll be coming to lie in Shavasana in silence for a couple of minutes. Gently extend and deepen your breath. Wiggle your toes and your fingers, growing that into larger movements as you stretch as you need to. Raising your right arm overhead, roll to your right, resting your head on your shoulder. Pushing your left hand down into the floor, coming to sit quietly for a few moments. Bringing your hands together at your heart center, bowing your head. Closing with a quote that encapsulates it all. You're not here proving your worthiness. You are here being your worthiness. Thank you for practicing with me today. Thank you to Nikki and Andrew for creating this summit. Thank you to everyone who organized and participated. Namaste.